Yeah, it's your boy Reese. We'll drop another segment on the single mom, how it came into existence, so you know what you're dealing with. More you watch, piece this puzzle together, all right? Fred Barney, how could you give the blacks all rights and leave Wilma and me to suffer, the white woman says. Yep, Miss Daisy woke up realizing that she, like the Negro, could not own property. So like I said, if you look on your house deed, it has you listed as a tenant. It don't have you listed as an owner. Could not vote, nor did she have social, political, or economic equality with her slave-making, law-lying, rather bed a slave than my wife's husbands, they said. Oh, hell to the no. Susie became suffragist in 1869. She founded the National Women's Suffrage Association. It would take women about another 50 years to group mass the old rusty sword. And in 1919, America had never seen such riots, marches, and demonstrations. Miss Daisy and her colored comrades created America's first Red Summer. White women put ice between the sheets and hit the speak essays. In 1920, Congress passed the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote. The problem was getting them back in the ivory tower and to sit on the pedestal of stupidity. Needless to say, she's been in the street ever since. The White Women's Lib movement was launched. Now, Miss Daisy Dukes is no fool to the games her males play with people of color and herself. She has known for centuries that favored African women. As a rule, sisters of colors are reverend in harmony letter his law, while the African man received the severe spirit of his law. In fact, because of sexual and carnal preference, Miss Daisy Dukes knows she is ranked third from the top in social, legal, economic, political standings. Number 1, the European white man. 2, the African woman. 3, the European white woman. And 4, the African man. These standings only reflects the pleasure side of the pale-skinned male. On the business side, he is all for self, while sustaining all others as profane. In Freemasonry, he must keep the sisters close to him, his laws, not just for their flesh, that's personal, but more importantly, to keep control over African children and American men by merely controlling her. What really made Miss Daisy so upset was not that the mulatto children, which often outnumbered their own, nor the ex-slaves were free to walk around. It was that Susan B. realized she had been tricked and hauled into a false sense of sexual and racial superiority by her own white man. He had made the Africans look up to her, and she actually believed she was an ivory tower. Meanwhile, as she was looking down her nose at the NBC, her eyes were closed to her husband's laws, which emphatically stated she had no rights. We, the people, were bound to respect. So the European female learned how to use his laws to free her person. Although she can never be equal to him, she will never be equal because she will never be allowed to be a Mason and must remain in his profane world. But the European woman has her own trump card to play in his trump political civilization. He needed her to sustain, perpetuate his pale-skinned race, and no other woman on the planet could do that but her. He had to pay. Now it is she who would demand compensation. So in the 50s and 60s, the honeymooners ended. The life of Raleigh, Miss Daisy became Miss Daisy's and put her full-size bed in his hotels. When in the divorce courts, there arose such a clatter, Miss Daisy had sprung from her twin bed to create a mess with legal matters. Oh, look at the goodies his laws can give me, she says. Custody of the children, his business, homes, and of course, alimony. Yep, Miss Daisy began using his children and business investments like bragging chips to gain her independence and power to manipulating the world's greatest manipulator. Besides, she watched his insidious maneuver the law's courts to divide the black family for scores of years. Now it was her turn. Hence, since probably the 1970s, single-parent families got its rise. This brings to mind one question. What on earth is a single-parent family? A family consists of father, mother, child, because families are the building blocks of any nation. Simple. No parent, mother, or father can single-handedly acquire a family. Parent, the lawful father and mother of a person or persons who shares mutual love with a child and supplies child support and maintenance, instructions, discipline, guidance. By statute, parent has been defined to include either the natural father or the natural mother of a child born of their wild marriage to each other. Simple. How is it possible to be a family with a lone parent? 33 1/3 of the divine plans are strangely missing. But at the same time, notice the word lawful. It binds the three-word status of single, alone. Is a lawful status. You can file for being single to IRS. Parent is a lawful status, marriage. Family is a lawful status, genealogy. The single-parent family is recognized in the United States as a legal status and was civilly designed primarily to protect the European women and children when they are out of his house, but to sustain her in his kingdom. Instead of being the former wife and mother, she is now a ward and mother of his state government. In other words, she is still recognized as a citizen of a new nation brought forth on this continent by his forefathers 10 score years ago. America and the United States government was automatically secure her in its prosperity. But the so-called black woman is quite another story. First and foremost, they are not national citizens of the United States. And because they delude to being NBC, they will never be recognized as such. This is the constitutional reason for there being no such protections guaranteed in her rendition of single-parent families, commonly known as the single mom. Most African sisters caught up in the European women's liberation movements know very little of the power secret societies like the Illuminati and private groups of men like the